ka man, dalhin ang kapalaran. Iisang bayan lang sa puso mo'y laman, pinagmulan at babalikan. Konting tiis na lang at hanggang sa araw na yan ay asal. Kami nandito lang, sabay na pakinggan ang mga kwento nyo. Isigaw natin sa mundo, bagong bayani namin kayo. Sipag at tapang nyo, hinialay sa mundo, sinasaludo namin kayo.
Ako si Rose Eclarinal.
Ako si Jean Alcantara.
Ako si Crystal Dias.
Ako si Kiara Gregorio.
Sa Juan, you connect.
Isigaw sa mundo. Saan ka man, dalhin ang kapalaran. Iisang bayan lang sa puso mo'y laman, pinagmulan at babalikan. Konting tiis na lang at hanggang sa araw na yan ay asal. Kami nandito lang, sabay na pakinggan ang mga kwento nyo. Isigaw natin sa mundo, bagong bayani namin kayo. Sipag at tapang nyo, hinialay sa mundo, sinasaludo namin kayo.
Ako si Rose Eclarinal.
Ako si Jean Alcantara.
Ako si Crystal Dias.
Ako si Kiara Gregorio.
Sa Juan, you connect.
Isigaw sa mundo. Saan ka man, dalhin ang kapalaran. Iisang bayan lang sa puso mo'y laman, pinagmulan at babalikan. Konting tiis na lang at hanggang sa araw na yan ay asal. Kami nandito lang, sabay na pakinggan ang mga kwento nyo. Isigaw natin sa mundo, bagong bayani namin kayo. Sipag at tapang nyo, hinialay sa mundo, sinasaludo namin kayo.
Ako si Rose Eclarinal.
Ako si Jean Alcantara.
Ako si Crystal Dias.
Ako si Kiara Gregorio.
Sa Juan, you connect.
Isigaw sa mundo.
Magandang hapon UK, magandang hapon Europa, magandang gabi Pilipinas, at kung saan man po kayo naroroon, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Rose Eclarinal, ito po ang One You Connect, kwentong Pinoy, kwentong migrante, kwentong One You Connect. Magandang hapon Jean and Crystal.
Hello, ako po si Jean Alcantara. Magandang hapon.
Hi, I'm Crystal Dias.
Jean and Crystal, punong-puno yung hapon natin. Una, mainit yung topic natin ngayon because makakasama po natin, pag-uusapan natin ang ethnicity recognition sa ESR or yung Electronic Staff Record ng NHS at NMC. Ano bang kahulugan nito? Anong ibig sabihin nito para sa mga Filipino nurses? At Jean, alam mo naman, tumitindi yung bakbakan dyan sa Ukraine. Kaya kukumustahin natin yung kalagayan ng mga kababayan natin dyan sa bahaging yan ng Europa. And Crystal, ano ang meron tayo sa Immigration 101?
This is very interesting. We touched on last time na meron tayong session sa Immigration 101 and it's to do how do we change our name sa British passport natin. So stay tuned po till the end.
And Jean, ikaw naman, mahalaga yung role mo ngayong hapon kasi Hopefully makasama pa rin natin si Neil Tero, yung correspondent natin sa Russia. Pero alam ko, Jean, magaling ka magsalita ng Russian, tama ba?
Ah, medyo yan ang degree natin. So alam ko yan, at sa totoo lang napatira din ako sa Poland ng 4 na taon. So medyo kabisado ko yung mga nangyayari diyan. Kaya nakakalungkot yung mga nangyayaring giyera ngayon. Pero at least makikita natin ngayon kung anong sitwasyon lalo na ng ating mga kababayan. Ang hope lang natin na maayos na sana agad yung war. Kasi baka maapektuhan din tayo dito sa Europa.
Okay, so mamaya po makakasama natin si Jean Alcantara and Crystal Diaz. For our first segment, pag-uusapan po natin ang ethnicity recognition sa electronic staff record ng NHS o National Health Service at NMC o National Midwifery Council. At ang ating pong guest ay Work Race Equality Standard Clinical Research Fellow. Previously, siya po ay Deputy Associate Director of Nursing ng MSK, SS, and East Suffolk and North Essex NHS Foundation Trust. Welcome on One You Konek, Miss Louie Horne.
Hi Rose.
Hi Louie, kumusta?
How are
Good to have you
you?
back here. Oo, una sa lahat, congratulations for your new role. Paliwanag mo naman sa amin, ano ba yung ginagampanan mong role ngayon sa bago mong trabaho?
So it's great, Rose, because wala pang Filipino na nakakapasok dito sa Workforce Race Equality Standard. So basically, we set standards for how all the ethnic minorities group should be supported at workplace. As alam mo naman, dumadami ang ating mga iba't ibang lahi na sumasali sa NHS and private sector. And these standards are kept and they are researched, and every year we look at it, what's improving, what's not improving, and then we focus our actions on those things.
Okay, nabanggit ko kanina, Louie, yung MSK and SS. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin nito? Kasi ang naipaliwanag ko lang ay spelled out yung sa East Suffolk and North Sussex na NHS Foundation Trust.
Okay, it used to be called Trauma and Orthopedics Rose. So anything about bones and spines, I was the nurse lead for that. So MSK is Musculoskeletal Services and SS is Special Surgery. So yun yung departamento ko before I left to be in the national role.
Wow, ang galing naman. At saka, papakilala rin natin si Louie bilang isang officer ng FNA UK or Filipino Nurses Association UK na aktibong-aktibo po ngayon. At ito ay na-organize nga, na-formed, especially during the pandemic. Okay, Louie, yung role mo bago ka napunta dito sa bilang research fellow, no? Napaka-senior. Ilan lang siguro ang Filipino na nakarating ng posisyon na yan. So, ang tanong ko is, how were you able to do that?
So I was the second one. So the first one was Jenny. You know Jenny, Rose, diba? So she's ethnic minorities advisor for Ruth May for ethnic anything issues about ethnicity, about different international nurses. So mine is focusing on race and how we could actually improve the international nurses standing here in UK. So I would say it's hard work. It's hard work, and with all my work in the last 20 years for international nurses, Filipino nurses here in Suffolk, and that's how I was told of the job, and then I applied for the job, and thankfully, out of the many applicants, I was able to secure it. So it's great. It's time that we actually have a Filipino representation nationally, because we are the third largest group naman of nurses, Rose. International nurses, English nurses and Irish nurses being the first and second, and then tayo na ang third. So we are very big. We're around 40,000 now in the UK.
Wow, ang bilis, no? Kasi nung 5 years ago when I was doing reports sa nurses, parang pangalawa pa lang ang Filipino sa Indian. Of course, pangatlo actually, Irish muna, tapos Indian, and then Filipino. So Louie, tell us, ano ba yung kahulugan? Ito yung ethnicity recognition sa ESR. What does it mean for Filipino nurses?
So, being Filipinos, obviously, we need to be identified as Filipinos. So, cultural identity is, as you know, very important to all Filipinos, not just the Filipino nurses, but every Filipino in a foreign land. So, this is very important kasi for the longest time in Nursing and Midwifery Council and for the ESR, we are recorded as any other Asian. So, what happened was with all this group effort, meron na tayong sarili nating category, which is the Filipino ethnicity. So it's very important because, you know, it's a Filipino is a cultural identifier. Malinaw na sa mga records going forward if it's going to be used for research, if it's going to inform decision making or action any change that affect the Filipino nurses. So all around, it's all very positive, Rose. And as you know, it's a sense of belonging. The very first Filipinos who came and joined UK to work here is around 50 years ago. It's just that in the last 20 years, dumami na tayo ng dumami and more are expected to come and work for NHS. So having our own identity, having our own category as Filipinos is actually a very positive thing. You feel that you belong and they don't just hear us, now they can see us in all the records. So it's very important talaga. Lalong-lalo na at sinabi ko na tayo ang pangatlo sa pinakamalaking workforce ng nurses dito sa UK.
Okay. So, Louie, syempre hindi naman yan nakamit ng organization who pushed for it ng overnight. So, tell us a little bit of the hard work that you guys put into this.
So, to be honest, the raising it up, the following it up, and the chasing it has been a group effort, Rose. So first of all, I need to we have to acknowledge the two nursing organizations here in UK. That's Filipino Nurses Association UK, and then we've got the PNA, Philippine Nurses Association UK. But they've been campaigning for this for the longest time. And obviously, Lisel Lungguan as well, founder and editor of Tinig UK, wrote about this. And when Jenny got into the role last year, she raised this as well as the Ethnic Minorities Advisor. So I think the last push that we did was when I joined the Workforce Race Equality Standard. That was the very first thing that we worked on with the director, who is fortunately a Filipino ally for us, Professor Anton Emmanuel. So we work on it, see how it can be done. And I feel, Rose, that all the stars aligned so that we can now have this readily accessible. We have the power, each nurse have the power to change it now in their NMC records and in their ESR. So all of that come together. I think all those forces come together so that we achieve this now, accessible, available. And I very strongly promote to all the Filipino nurses in UK to actually change it and go to HR if they cannot change it themselves. I made a poster, as you can see, that's what I've given to you. There's a poster on how it can be done. So it's a group effort. It's not any one effort. It's being campaigned for the longest time.
Fantastic. Well done to you guys for making it happen. Now, pwede pang lumaki yung numero or yung number, Louie, kasi kung yung mga nurses na hindi pa nila na-amend yung kanilang ethnicity dyan sa NHS or sa NMC, pwede pa nilang gawin ngayon.
Definitely, Rose, because it's a good 3 weeks ago lang talagang officially accessible to. So, I encourage everyone because not everyone naman listen to the news, not everyone reads these things. So we are getting in touch. The good thing about the FSNA UK is it's all the senior Filipino nurses all over the country. So kung meron na tayong mga director of nursing, meron na tayong chief nurse in Edmond Tabay, so they can all make this influence on how it can be changed. They can support our nurses. So group effort talaga nationally. And it's a good thing because it started in NHS England. As you know, Rose, in England and in Wales, Scotland and Ireland, wala pa tayong ganun. So that's the next job for us to do.
Okay, so nasa England pa lang siya.
Yes.
Louie, you mentioned two nursing associations. You mentioned FNA UK and you mentioned PNA UK. Ito yung mga nagpagod at naghirap para nga sa kampanya na ito. But you were also mentioning about a group of senior level nurses. What is this?
So it's during the pandemic, Rose. Kasi Filipinos were working in silos before. So there were lots of senior nurses scattered all over the country who rose up to those, to break those bamboo ceilings. And they're now directors of nursing, chief nurses, very senior nurses, specialist nurses. They're very good in their field. So when the pandemic happened, suddenly there was this demand and need for our Filipino nurses to be supported, especially as you know, we've got several of our comrades who died during the pandemic. So this actually activated all this group that was obviously Jenny and Francis Fernando started to put together all these senior nurses. We put it out on Twitter, on Facebook, and suddenly they all kind of put their hand up and say, yes, I'm willing to actually go and support. So it's all voluntary. Hindi kami bayad sa mga ganito. So I belong to FNA UK obviously, and then FSNA UK. So we've got lots of advocacies for the Filipino nurses. So that's how it all come together. It's becoming very, very strong alliance.
Wow, that is good to hear. Ngayon, mas may inspire siguro yung mga kababayan natin na lalong-lalo na yung mga bago lang dito sa UK kung paano sila magtatagumpay sa career nila dito sa NHS. Panghuling tanong ko sa iyo, Louie, ano yung mga dapat pang gawin ng Filipino nurses kung gusto nilang maging member ng organizations, kung gusto nilang sumali sa mga kampanya na isinusulong ng FNA or PNA UK and the senior level organization or association that you're also part of?
So we're very digitally we're out there online. So there's a Twitter for both organizations, PNA and FNA UK, and then there's a Facebook for both organizations as well. And then if for whatever reason wala silang ganon, they can just go to Google and then Google FNA UK, PNA UK, and obviously the FSNA is quite new, so hindi pa kami available sa Google, pero very much available on anyone. They can actually come to me as well. I'm very active in Twitter, as you know, Rose, and Facebook as well. So anyone can join. Obviously, they just need to link with us, and we need to be shouting for the Filipino nurses to be, promoted, supported, and celebrated. So this is the time for us as Filipino nurses to come together.
Okay. Panghuling tanong, Louie, tawad na to na tanong para sa'yo. Yung mga gustong mag-advance sa career nila in the NHS, katulad mo na malayo yung narating sa NHS, ano ang mga dapat nilang tandaan o gawin?
You know, Rose, 22 years ago, it is not as easy as now. So I always tell the millennials, the Gen Z, the senior, the FSNA are the nurses that's been here 25 years, and we paved the way on how it should be done. So it's still not as easy as when you're a British nurse, obviously, but it's easier now to actually talk to any senior Filipino nurses that you know, and we're scattered everywhere, and to talk about all the leadership courses that you can do, to how you can be very good clinically. We've got an amazing, headache specialist in UCLH, Susie Lagrata. So she's very good in her field, specialism. So hindi lang mga managers ang mga nurses ngayon, mga Filipino nurses. Ano sila, specialist sila in headache, specialist sila in Botox. So cardiovascular, tissue viability. Ang dami-dami nilang pwedeng gawin ngayon. All they need to do is link up, go to websites that actually supports NMC, Leadership Academy as well, Nursing Leadership Academy. Ano na yan, scattered na yan. Pwede na nilang maglagay lang sila doon, and then we will get back to them.
On that note, maraming salamat sa iyo, Louie Horne, for joining us this afternoon at sa pagbabahagi mo ng success of the nurses in the UK and also the organizations that actually pushed for the realization of this ethnicity recognition. Good luck, more power, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Salamat.
And congratulations pala sa Presidential Award. I forgot. I saw that.
Maraming salamat. We have to drink. Have a
Yes.
drink for that.
Yes,
Salamat.
I'll go to London. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Magbabalik po ang One You Connect.
Ako si Rose Eclarinal.
Nagbabalik po ang One You Connect at ngayon makakasama ko naman si Jean Alcantara. Jean?
Hi everyone. So pag-usapan naman po natin ang talagang nag-iinit na balita dito sa Central Europe. Well, Central and Eastern Europe kasi Ukraine and Russia are Eastern Europe.
Oh,
But
yes.
Poland is Central Europe. So,
Okay.
yan po.
Okay. So Jean, alam naman natin the world was stunned when Russia opted for a military operation or invasion in Ukraine last February 24. Ilang araw pa lang nakakalipas, ano? And as of Saturday, the United Nations confirmed at least 240 civilian casualties from the fighting and more than 150,000 people have fled Ukraine. Ang magandang balita today, Sunday, Reuters reported that Moscow is ready for talks with Ukraine in Belarus.
Yeah. Well, in fact, may Russian delegation na dumating na sa Belarus, no, for potential talks. And open din naman si President Volodymyr Zelensky ng Ukraine. Kaya lang, medyo worried siya to have this talk in Belarus kasi nanggagaling din dyan yung mga bumibira sa kanilang bansa. So they would much rather have it in another city na
In a neutral
neutral, like
city.
Warsaw, Istanbul, maybe Switzerland.
Oo. Jean, yung nakikita natin ngayon dyan, that was my coverage of the rally yesterday sa harap ng 10 Downing Street kasi ito yung mga sumusuporta at syempre humihingi nga ng support sa international community at hinihingi nila yung more sanctions and more military support for Ukraine. That was yesterday. Ang karamihan na nandyan sa rally, mga syempre Ukrainian pero may mga Russians din at saka iba-ibang lahi. Ang hinihingi nila is parang nakukulangan pa talaga sila sa suporta na ibinibigay sa Ukraine as we speak. Ngayong hapon may rally pa rin dyan at pupuntahan pa rin natin para i-cover yan sa ABS-CBN, the Filipino channel. Siyempre, go
Pero
ahead.
alam mo, it's not so easy, no? Kasi yung iba nagde-demand na magkaroon ng mas matinding action more than the yung mga financial penalties, ganun. Gusto nga nila boots on the ground. Pero delikado yon kasi pagka yun ang hiningi nila at ibinigay, talagang magkakaroon na tayo ng giyera sa buong Europa.
Maganda, ito syempre concern natin yan, Jean, because may mga kababayan tayong Pinoy na nasa Ukraine, ano, tinatayang about 400. At sa report ko sa ABS-CBN News kanina, yung si Secretary SFA, si Secretary Locsin ay nasundo niya some 13 Filipinos na nag-cross from Lviv and nakarating sila sa Poland. And a few days ago rin, may mga kababayan tayo na nakatawid din sila ng Poland kahit nga wala silang pasaporte kasi syempre giyera na, no, yung pasaporte nila hindi nila mahanap o hindi makuha dahil tumatakas sa giyera, pero pinayagan ng Poland. Yung nakikita sa picture na yon, ito yung pagsundo ni Secretary Locsin sa mga kababayan natin na nag-cross to Poland kasi alam naman po natin na nasa Paris a few days ago si Secretary Locsin for another engagement doon, pero minabuti niya na dumaan sa Poland para ayudahan yung ating mga kababayan. And speaking
Alam mo,
go ahead.
Alam mo, Rose, yan lang ang isang masasabi natin na may pagmamalaki natin sa ating pamahalaan, ano, na pag biglang may nangyaring ganyan mga insidente, talaga naka-ready ang DFA, ang OWA, ang buong misyon, ano, kasi nakahanda sila na kung may mangyari, may i-repatriate ba nila yung mga tao kung gustong umuwi ng mga Pinoy.
Oo, kung gustong umuwi. Kasi sabi nga ni Secretary Locsin, wala silang iiwan on the ground. Yung mga gustong sumama, kailangan nila talagang ilikas yun. Pero hindi rin naman nila mapipilit yung mga Pinoy na gustong manatili doon. Kasi ang nakukuha nating balita is mayroon ding mga Pilipino na may pamilya na doon, may asawa silang Ukrainian, may maliliit silang mga anak. So hindi nila pwedeng iwan yung kanilang pamilya. Yung isang Filipino na na-interview ko doon, ang sinasabi naman niya, hindi rin niya maiwanan yung inaalagaan niya. Kaya sensitibo yung kalagayan at mahirap yung kalagayan ng mga kababayan natin sa Ukraine at saka yung mga nasa Poland din, Jean. Syempre may takot din yung mga kababayan natin na nandun, kasi ang dami nga na lumilikas doon. So siguro tawagin na natin yung isa nating kababayan mula sa Poland. Hello?
Hello po.
Si Joy
Hi.
Salve. Ayan
Yes
po,
po.
si Joy
Good
Salve.
Hi, Joy.
Hi, Joy.
Good afternoon.
Magandang
Thank you for having me here po. Good afternoon.
Okay, Joy, sabihin mo na muna sa amin kasi ang ganda ng paligid mo. Mukhang tahimik na tahimik dyan. Where are you right now?
I'm currently in Poznan, Poland. So it's the eastern part of Poland po. And syempre now, nasa ako, park.
Mm-mm.
To show everyone kung anong yung nakikita, yung happening ngayon.
Mm-mm.
Yes po.
So gaano ba yan kalayo dun sa gulo sa Joy?
Hindi ko pa maano po kasi we are actually 3 hours away from Berlin. And pag pupunta ng Warsaw, it's 3 hours din, almost 4 hours. So malayo pa rin talaga. From Warsaw to Ukraine border, siguro abutin ng 6-7 hours more.
Ang malapit sa Ukraine, Rose and Joy, no?
Yes.
Is Lviv kasi ano lang yan malapit na sa border talaga ng Poland. Kaya diyan sila nagtayo ng parang facilitation center kung saan minimit nila yung mga Pinoy na nag-i-evacuate sa iba't ibang lugar ng Ukraine. So I think mga ano lang yata yun is several kilometers lang siya. 70 kilometers nandun na sa border. Kaya magandang lugar na pagtagpuan, ika nga.
Okay, Joy, stay put.
Yes.
Kasi alam mo, sinuwerte tayo ngayon, yung correspondent ng The Filipino Channel na nagbabalita ng kalagayan ng mga kababayan natin sa Russia, makakasama rin natin ngayon. Siya ay makalap ng report at ngayon nakakuha siya ng signal, so magbibigay din siya sa atin ng information kung ano naman yung kalagayan ng mga kababayan natin sa Moscow. Nandito po kasama natin si Neil Tero mula sa Moscow, Russia. Neil?
Hello, Miss Rose. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Good evening, Philippines. Ayan, so andito po tayo ngayon sa Victory Park. Siguro alam ni Sir Jean kasi marunong yan si Sir Jean sa mga Russian histories. Yung Victory Park ay isa po yung park, pinakamalaking park dito sa Russia, sa Moscow. At ginawa ito in honor sa victory ng mga Russian during the World War II. So kung makikita po ninyo sa ating likuran, yan po yung isa sa mga tallest skyscrapers dito po sa Moscow and even sa Europe. So accordingly, as of 2021, mayroong 4 na super tall skyscrapers sa Europe. Isa na dyan ang Russia, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Warsaw, and sa London. So kung makikita din ninyo, yan po yung mga structures. Hindi ko siya ma-flip yung ating camera. And then kung makikita yung building na yan, kung nakakita kayo ay that one, mayroon din pong ganyan sa Kiev. Kung makikita natin yung mga live updates sa Kiev mismo, sa center, mayroon din po silang structures na ganyan. So, yan. So far, kalmado naman ang lahat dito at panawagan ng mga kababayan na na-interview din natin para sa kanilang mga kapamilya sa Pilipinas ay huwag mag-alala kasi Moscow is 1,000 kilometers away doon po sa Kiev. So, yun ang mga sabi nila na okay sila dito. Ang problema nga lang ay apektado kaming lahat sa financial na aspect. Ibig sabihin, yung nandahil sa mga sanctions na pinataw ng sa Russian Federation, hindi po kami makapadala po ng pera abroad, outside sa Russia. And then, noong February 25 or 26, nahihirapan din po kami makakuha ng cash sa mga machine. So far okay na okay dito. Ang problema nga lang, medyo malamig ngayon. I'm chilling. It's sunny Sunday afternoon pero nasa -7 po yung real feel at saka windy po tayo dito. Windy yung area natin dito.
Neil, matanong ko lang, kasi alam ko may mga ilan na ba kayo? 2,000 na yata kayong mga Pinoy dyan sa Russia.
Sa tala po ng Embassy, Sir G, nasa mahigit kumulang 5,000 kababayan po ang nasa Russia.
Ang dami na pala. Paano naman ang movement ninyo? Nakakalibot pa ba kayo ngayon o restricted na ang kilos nyo?
May curfew ba dyan, Neil?
So far wala namang curfew na mga dito. Isa lang din sa mga bawal dito actually is yung mag-iingay ng after 11 o'clock. Yan lang din po ang bawal dito sa Moscow, sa Russia. So far normal talaga yung galaw namin dito, as in walang problema. At isa sa mga kinatatakutan lang namin is yung kung ay pinag-alala is kung uuwi man ang mga Pilipino, wala silang papel. So nasa DFA ang desisyon na 'yan. At saka nung February 25, 30 flights po, inbound flights. Outbound flights, yung kinansila po sa mga airports dito sa Moscow.
Okay. So, okay. Neil, nakita ko rin sa report sa BBC and may mga protest din nagaganap dyan sa Moscow at nakita ko parang anggulo. Pero yung pag-iikot mo sa amin ngayon, parang tahimik na tahimik dyan.
Yun talaga, Miss Rose, ang hirap din kasi na kukuha tayo or i-justify natin yung mga nakikita nating balita kung hindi tayo on the ground. So far sa mga na-observe ko dito, yes, may nagpo-protest, pero hindi naman sila ganun ka stricto dito sa Moscow. I do not know sa St. Petersburg kasi naibalita nga even sa ating isa sa mga news agency sa atin sa Pilipinas, naibalita din yung mga 1,600 na mga Russians na nagpo-protest at na-detain sila ngayon sa St. Petersburg. So far wala pa naman kaming nabalitaan na-detain dito sa Moscow. Nung 25 or 26 may mga may mga movement, mga protest movement sa center mismo. Pero wala kaming nabalitaan pa so far na na-detained.
Okay.
Actually, kaya maganda kausap ka namin ngayon, Neil, kasi nga iba yung point of view na pinapakita dito sa West, no? Kesa diyan sa nakikita ninyo sa loob ng Moscow. So siguro medyo ingat lang kayo kasi baka mapag-ingat.
Ang hirap din po kasing Sir Jean, ang hirap din po kasing magbigay po ng side. Hindi po ako personally a political analyst, hindi po tayo mga analyst at hindi din tayo mga historians. Ang hirap din na magbigay po tayo ng part na about sa situation kung wala tayong alam mismo. So siguro kung yung may mga alam sa history, sa Slavic history, sa Soviet history, siguro yun pwede natin matitake yung kanilang mga side comments, pero kung babasihan lang din natin kung ano nakikita natin without checking the facts, isa yun sa mga importante natin kailangan i-check at i-verify natin yung facts. Siguro mas mainam na alamin natin yung situation kasi bawat isa sa atin may mga stand at may mga political views din po tayo. So sa akin, neutral tayong lahat. So far talaga dito, iba ang pinapakita ng ibang media sa totoong situation dito.
Okay. So, Neil, please stand by, no? Tatanungin naman natin si Joy. Joy,
Sure.
ikaw dyan sa Poland, nangangamba ka ba sa yung na pwedeng mawala ang trabaho ninyo kung dumami ng dumami ang mga tumatawid dyan sa Poland galing sa Ukraine?
Honestly po, nung nag-start yung conflict, there were speculations na baka nga pati yung Poland igerahin ng Russia. So, yung ano lang naman namin is to have, to be alert, to be vigilant, and at the same time, magkaroon ng contingency plan in case that happens, in worst case scenario. But of course, for me kasi as a Christian, we always believe in God's protection na alam naman natin na pag si God yung nasa ano natin, ay inuuna natin, hindi naman tayo mapapahamak. So that's why for me, ever since naman, hindi ako talaga nag-worry, especially when I came here to Poland in the midst of pandemic. After a year, okay naman dito. So, and yung Ukrainians naman, they are here. They were here ever since. Siguro dadami lang, pero we're not really worried kung anong mangyayari sa future. Personally.
Alam mo, Joy, kasi ang Poland is a democracy, di ba? And membro sila ng NATO. So, hindi sila pwedeng basta batuhin ng Russia kasi pag binato sila, ay kasama na nila ang buong NATO, di ba?
Yes po.
So, nakikipag-coordinate ba kayo sa embassy just in case na yung biglang may mangyari, nakahanda ba kayo sa mga gagawin ninyo?
Actually, hindi pa po. Magandang ano po yan, reminder. We will do so after this. Kasi for now po, yung boyfriend ko is Polish. So sa kanya ko po na yung mga updates kung ano nasa balita kasi we can't understand Polish pa. Although I'm learning na rin. So yun po so far.
Okay, so alam mo naman, Joy, kung sino ang ambassador dyan sa Poland.
Naku, hindi ata ako na-prepare. Alamin ko na po, promise. After na to.
Nako, kilalang-kilala ni Jean ang mga diplomats natin dyan na nakabantay sa mga kababayan natin dyan sa Poland.
Yeah, si Ambassador Leia Basinang Ruiz, siya yung in charge dyan. At saka ang balita ko si Conjen Melicor Mardomel. Mabait din daw. Nasa Ukraine sila ngayon kasi inaasikaso nga nila yung mga mag-evacuate via Poland.
Oo. At saka yung embassy natin din dyan, si Ambassador Ruiz, sakop din niya yung Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Ukraine. Yung dati natin na DCM dito, Jean, may hawak din ng maraming Russian, former Russian
Yes,
states,
si
no?
Ambassador Frank Simafranca,
Yes.
nandiyan naman siya sa Hungary.
Nasa
Kaya
Hungary naman.
kung doon naman mag-evacuate yung mga Pinoy, meron din silang matatakbuhan na senior diplomat natin.
Oo.
So,
Neil,
Yes, Miss Rose.
habang paikot-ikot ka dyan, ano ang gusto mong ipayo sa mga kababayan natin na nag-aalala sa kanilang, kung paano sila makakapagpadala sa Pilipinas o nag-aalala sa kanilang safety?
Sa mga na-interview din natin at yan din po ang aabangan ng ating mga kapamilya sa TFC, sa The Filipino Channel. Mayroon po tayong stories about sa pagpapadala. Ang laging payo nila is huwag mag-alala sa situation dito kasi on the go din naman po yung Philippine Embassy dito sa Moscow. Sa katunayan, kanina nagkaroon sila ng Philcom Leaders meeting kasama yung Vice Consul. So wala pa kaming ambassador dito, mayroon lang kaming CDA. At ang sabi ng mga na-interview ko, okay sila dito. Isa sa mga problema din pala ngayon dito sa Russia ay kahapon ang balita is ibabaan yung lahat ng Meta products, yung Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. Pero kanina lumabas na pinahina lang yung traffic, pinapahina or kumbaga nagiging mahina lang yung consume namin, pag-consume ng data or something, yung traffic sa paggamit ng Meta products or Facebook at saka Instagram, WhatsApp. Isa din sa aming mga inaasahan na baka yung mga Google Pay at Apple Pay, Apple Pay at Google Pay ay hindi na din maging available in the future, pero wala pa naman tayong exact na information about niyan. Balik tayo sa tanong, ang mga Pilipino dito sa Moscow ay at sa Russia, even sa St. Petersburg, mayroon din po tayong mga na-interview sa St. Petersburg. Okay na okay sila doon. Isa lang sa mga kinatatakutan nila ngayon is yung mga balita na siyempre hindi sila makapag-verify ng mga sources. May mga balita din na yun na nga, nagsimula na nga daw i-move ng Russia ang kanilang mga high-end na mga military equipment, which is wag tayong basta-basta maniwala sa mga anumang nababasa natin kung hindi naman sila yung mga legit na mga sources. Aside from that, about sa pagpapadala, yung ating mga yung ating mga na-interview, ang sabi nila is siyempre cooperate na lang sila sa kanilang mga mama kasi mostly pamilyado sila dito. Wala talaga kaming option pa for now, even yung mga remittance center hindi talaga makapagpadala. So, yun. At isa din sa mga worry nila ngayon dito is lalong bumaba ang value po ng Russian ruble.
Actually, ang isang concern ko lang, Neil, na dahil maraming sanctions, hindi daw makapag-import ang Russia ngayon, hindi makabili, maraming bawal. So, hindi naman kayo magugutom kaya dyan sa Russia?
Siguro kung siyempre Pinoy tayo hindi naman tayo yung kung ano lang yung siguro yung mga rice, siguro yung mga usual na kinakain natin, siguro hindi naman siguro magugutom. Ang sabi po ng ating mga Russian friends, I've been interviewing kasi nga bala ko sanang mag-document lang, hindi documentary talaga na news ang PEG. Kumbaga mag-interview lang, kukuha lang ng idea. Sabi nila, nabuhay sila noong 1991 to 1992 nung fall ng USSR. So kung magkaroon po daw ng second ng USSR 2.0, ay kaya nila itong labanan. Kaya nila itong labanan. Lalo na ngayon na naniniwala sila na kaya nilang mag-stand alone kahit kasi mayroon silang mga resources. Sa mga Pilipino naman, madiskarte tayo mga Pilipino So siguro, I hope and I pray din na magiging okay ang lahat kasi apektado tayo sa trabaho kasi kung halimbawa bababa yung rate ng RUB ng pera dito kasi nung last time 84 yung $1 to RUB, tapos the other day na umabot ng 100, and may mga rumors have it na aabot pa ng more than 100 RUB ang $1. So yun, umaaray yung mga kababayan natin dito sa rate nga kasi nga RUB or Russian ruble yung sinasabi nila. Pero gayon pa man, patuloy ang buhay kasi pumunta tayo sa ibang bansa para sa pamilyang naiwan sa Pilipinas.
Maganda yung sinabi mo, Neil, yung mga kababayan natin na ang inspirasyon nila yung pamilya natin sa Pilipinas. Yung na-pick up ko naman kay Joy kanina, sinabi niya na, trust in God. Kahit na nandyan, malapit sa giyera, ay manalig sa Diyos at, yan ang magpapalakas ng loob mo. Anything else, Joy, that you want to add? Ano pa yung mga gusto mong ipayo sa mga kababayan natin na nandyan sa Poland or yung mga, maybe your message to your family in the Philippines?
Yung may papayo ko lang po sa mga kababayan natin dito sa Poland is just to stay alert and have contingency plan. And syempre, we have to alamin natin yung contact ba, paano kumontak sa embassy. And in case, balikan ko lang po, Miss Rose, yung question nyo na worried ba kami kung in case mapalitan yung dahil dadaming Ukrainians dito. Uh-oh. So for me naman, I think basta na sa company naman kayo, especially sa company na when we work na nagtatrabaho ako, they're doing their best naman to secure or to have like a security of tenure for the Filipino workers.
Okay. Well, maraming salamat sa iyo, Joy. And so, Neil,
Thank you
anything
din.
else that you want to add, Jean?
Well, actually sayang wala tayong nakausap na nasa Ukraine mismo. Dahil nandoon talaga yung gulo. But anyway, it's good to talk to Joy and of course to Neil. So mag-ingat kayo dyan at babantayan namin ng balita para
Thank you.
at least alam namin na okay kayo lagi dyan.
Yes.
Okay, so
Praying for
Davisenya.
everyone's safety. Thank you,
Maraming-
Davidenia.
Okay,
God
and
bless.
Mas
Maraming
Vidanya,
salamat,
Neil.
Joy Salve, mula po yan sa
you
Poland,
po.
at ang ating pong TFC correspondent na nagbibigay sa atin ng balita mula sa Moscow, Russia. Siya po ang nag-iisa dyan, Neil Cabornay-Tero. Maraming salamat, Neil. Mag-iingat ka at don't forget your report for ABS-CBN News tomorrow. Gagawa pa ng report yan, Jean.
I see. Okay.
Salamat,
wonderful.
Neil. Ingat
Alright.
kayo.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah,
God
thank you.
bless.
Salamat.
Take care.
At magbabalik pa po ang One You Connect.
Ako po si Chiara Gregorio.
Nagbabalik po ang One You Connect at ito naman po, dumako na tayo sa last segment, Immigration 101, kasama po si Crystal Diaz.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a very sunny Sunday afternoon here in Kent. And thank you, Rose, for introducing me. And I'm happy again to host our segment, Immigration 101. So today we'll be talking about how to change your name on your British passport, because a lot of British nationals are now changing their passports. I'm going to show you, this was my old British passport. It actually had the European Union name on there. And now I applied for the British passport. It's just a British passport. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm not showing you details. So my picture there, it's actually quite nice. Here, so it's quite good. So it's easy to apply for a new passport if you are actually just a British national. Not so easy if you're applying for your very first British passport. So say you are a foreign national, you became naturalized, and then you make an application for your British passport. There was a change of name in the middle, in between. And also, if you became a dual national, as you know, quite a lot of Filipinos, when they apply for British naturalization, they actually lose their Philippine nationality when they become naturalized British. So I'm going to talk about the issue aligning names on foreign documents. Her Majesty's Passport Office published a guidance on this in just a year ago. That was February 2021. It's version 7.0, basically on how to deal with passport applications when the name a passport applies in does not match the name on the foreign document. So, the passport office is asking, so why customers do have to align their names? And they said they will not issue the customer a passport if they cannot confirm that the customer has one name they use for all official purposes. For example, when the customer applies for a passport and they provide a national identity card in a different name to the one on their passport application, or declare a foreign or other British passport, for example, British National Overseas Passport, in a different name to the one on the passport application. So why they're asking that? Bakit pinatanong ng passport office ito? Because what they said is that they must protect the security of the British passport by preventing, disrupting, and identifying those who change their name to commit crime or avoid detection. Also cannot accept documents that allow a customer to apply for a foreign passport in a different name. So this is going to be quite interesting now. I'm going to introduce to you a very special guest, and she's actually related, married to our co-presenter, Jean Alcantara. So please welcome Carmen Legarda. Hi, Carmen.
Hi, Crystal. Thank you for having me.
And I'm not showing Jean Alcantara. You're just sharing.
Yeah, I had problems with my laptop, so Jean let me share his computer.
Well, thank you for joining the show this afternoon, because you have a very interesting story, and something happened along the way when you applied for dual citizenship. You know,
yes,
you were a British national, and then you decided a few years ago to become a Filipino national. But tell me in your own words. Tell me what happened.
Okay, so well, actually, when I was 4 years old, my parents separated. My mother moved us to this country to get an annulment, kasi walang annulment noon. This is 1960s, and when I was a teenager, I was able to. We all changed our name via deed poll here in the UK. To my mother's maiden name, so everything was fine. All my legal documents are in Legarda. My British passport is in Legarda, and then even my Filipino passport was in Legarda, until I did my dual citizenship, and suddenly they insisted on using my birth certificate, and they invoked this article. Article
this was at the Philippine Embassy. Is that
the
right?
Philippine Embassy, yeah. So the Philippine Embassy, it's actually they've been very supportive to me. I have no complaint at all about the embassy, and in fact, even the Department of Foreign Affairs, when I wrote to them, were not sympathetic, but they were just citing the law. I think the problem is the law says that no person can change their name or surname without judicial authority. And so the deed poll that we had way back when I was a teenager, which enabled me to use Legarda for the last 40 years, suddenly it's not valid, it's not valid in the Philippines. And then the problem also is Article 364, which says that the legitimate and legitimated children shall principally use the surname of the father. So when I became a dual citizenship and applied, the Philippine Embassy used my birth certificate and wanted to use my father's name. And I said, well, I have nothing against my father, but that's not how I identify. And it's interesting that Louie was saying earlier, about Filipino nurses feeling that they need to be identified, have a self-identity, which I totally understand and agree with, because suddenly, after 40 plus years of being a Legarda, I was being forced to use my father's name, which I said, well, that doesn't make sense, because all my legal documents are in my mother's maiden name for the last 40 years. So I was more excited actually to be a dual national. I didn't make too much of a fuss of it back then in 2015. So I just lived with it for a while. They still kept my name as Legarda as a concession, and they used my father's maiden name as my middle name. But the problem now is, as you're saying now, Crystal, is when it comes to renewing my British passport, I now have a passport that has a new middle name than the one I've been using for the last 40 years of being British,
Yeah.
or actually more than 40, more than 50 plus years of being British. So I'm a little bit nervous about what's going to happen when I renew my British
I can understand.
passport.
Because you have this issue with your Philippine passport, and also you're now scared you're gonna have an issue when you make an application for British passport, right?
Exactly.
So you will have to deal with the Philippine issue first before you
Yes.
can deal with the
Yeah.
British issue.
So I found out that in order to change my passport, I actually have my Filipino passport, no?
Yeah.
In order to change the name there, I have to go to a regional trial court. So I have to go to the expense of a court, solicitor, and the time, of course. And I can't see how many people have the time to do that. And also, I don't see why.
We have a letter from the DFA, correct? I don't know
That's
if I
right.
can show the first page. That's it. This is from the Department of Foreign Affairs because you did something.
Yes, I wrote to
Yeah.
it's called the Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs.
Mhm.
And this is on the advice actually of our Philippine embassy here, who were, as I said, very sympathetic and very supportive. And in a way, and I cited Alanis. Alanis was a case in 2020,
Yeah.
November. The son was brought up by the mother. She was a single mother, and the father more or less disappeared very early on. So he identified very much, as with his mother's surname. So he applied to the regional trial court to choose his mother's surname, and it was rejected. So he went all the way to the Supreme Court, and this time the Supreme Court acknowledged that he had the right to use his mother's name. So, it was quite a groundbreaking decision. I think the Supreme Court said, reading Article 364, which is, the fact that the principally used the surname of the father, using Article 364, together with the state's declared policy to ensure the fundamental equality of women and men before the law, a legitimate child is entitled to use the surname of either parent as their last name. So I thought, well, in that case, that sounds straightforward. Why can't I just use my mother's maiden name? But it turns out the Supreme Court does not have the authority to overwrite the civil code. The Article 364 has to be repealed by Congress. So what the Supreme Court has done is it's given the guidelines of saying, look, this code should be written in fairness to gender equality, and they're sort of recognizing that actually this law is anti-women, is discriminatory, and it's misogynistic.
It's true. I totally agree with that. I mean, the fact is that, yes, fair enough, they recognize, there is they have to acknowledge there's a fundamental equality between men and women, but they didn't go so far as, okay, what we're going to do about it?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
So
as you said, you've got to go to court and get a court order to have your name changed.
And you think of all the children of single mothers who are having to go to court just to uphold the honoring their mother's name. Or you think about, for example, in the future, we have to be realistic about the future generations, and even current generations. If you have same-sex partners who have a child, who's going to be the father there, whether it's a man or a woman, same sex? What about our trans people? Why are they being forced to take on their previous sexual identity when they clearly want to have a different one? And there's all sorts of, and then you've got the future generation, which is now happening, not so much in the future, but now it's, when people are non-binary and they don't want to be known as him or her, they want to be they or their. So we have to, somehow the DFA and the Supreme Court and Congress really has to modernize to accommodate the people. As you were saying before, the law should be for the people and not the people for the law, So I really am struggling with this one. And the only way I could think of was of changing my name of my Filipino passport. I said, is there no way I can change my name? And guess what? They said, yeah, you can. If you get married, you can take the name of your husband. So again, it has to be the man, and again, it's just anti-women and discriminatory. It's just, so if I can get Jean to change his name to Legarda, by deed poll, apply for a Filipino passport as Legarda.
Even you're already married, just for the record, you're already married.
Already married, but
yeah,
if I ask
it's just
him,
the
let's
way
renew our vows, let's get married again. I don't know if he can, but if I can get him to change to Legarda, and we get married, and I can show the Philippine embassy the marriage certificate with Legarda, my name can be changed because my husband's name is Legarda. I mean, that's how absurd the situation is.
I mean, you have to go through this hurdle before you can even think about applying for British passport, because you're already British. You already have
I'm already British,
British passport. But the thing is, I'm not a dual national, but looking at what the Philippine law is at the moment, they haven't changed it in so many years. They've got to keep up with the times. They've got to keep up with the changes in the world, what's happening in the world right now. And then, I'm happy that the divorce bill is going through in the Philippines, but the last country to look at the how to dissolve a marriage. As you said, in the 60s, they didn't even have the solution of marriage. People had to go abroad to dissolve their marriage, and that's how absurd it was. And I'm glad that the solution of marriage applies to both men and women in the Philippines. In some religion, it's only one way, or in some culture. But I think though the fact is that we really have to move on. We really have to address this issue because it's quite important. What is just happening, the people are going underground. Okay, well, I can't afford to change my name through the courts. It's very expensive. So what am I going to do? People are just doing their own thing, changing the name on the certificate, and of course it's something that you're not supposed to do. But anyway, it's I hope that this is sorted out for you, because as you said to me that you have to apply for a British passport soon because it's expiring. And I found out, like in France and other countries, is that they don't accept passport that's over 10 years old. So that's why I applied for mine. I applied for my for my children as well. So I'm waiting. It didn't take long. It took about 2 weeks.
Normally it's very fast. But also, it's also curious why there's so much emphasis on the name when they have facial recognition. They have holograms on our passports. They've got international databases which they share. I don't really see the hang-up. I don't understand the hang-up on the name. Because if we used Mickey Mouse and we went through a passport control, they can see that we're not Mickey Mouse just from our face, no matter what it says on our passport.
It's a modern digital world, But it is to do with, I can just understand it's fair. It's to do with national security. They have their own reasons. But it's something that we have to abide. But we did have a case study last week, and she's actually our mentee. Basically, Kyla mentioned that she was she had a Philippine passport. She became naturalized citizen, and then she changed her name by deed poll, and she made an application for British passport, and they didn't accept that. But she made a fuss. She went on social media and everything, and eventually she was approved. And perhaps something you may want to consider at some point when you apply for a British passport, because it's not going to be easy in your case. But thank you for sharing that. You're
very welcome.
It's very important that people to know it's not so easy. I have had many inquiries and clients actually coming to me and said, "Look, Crystal, my passport is this. I got divorced in the UK. They won't recognize it. I already got married in in the UK, but the Philippine embassy won't change my name, won't change my new married name, because I'm still, married in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah.
It becomes very, very complicated. So, any last words that you think that people should know about the change of name, apart from it being, one-sided, is only to do with the paternal affinity, really?
Well, I'm hoping that the Home Office will show, some common sense, as it were, because I can show that a deed poll isn't valid. I understand in the Philippines that a British deed poll isn't valid in the Philippines, so fair enough. But it is valid here in the UK. And hopefully with the letter I wrote to the DFA, with the deed poll, with my previous British passports, they'll see that I've always been Lagarda.
Yes.
And that it's actually as this new introduction of the stringent use of the birth certificate, which apparently Secretary Locsin said there's no need to use the birth certificate. So that's another question mark. But anyway, good luck to everybody else who's applying and renewing for a British passport. And let's hope there's some common sense in Congress around this and changing a really ancient law. And it needs to be modernized.
You've got to be in the Philippines, Pai, to start the campaign.
Start the campaign. Well, maybe we should start an international one from here. Definitely. Thank you very much, Crystal.
Thanks, Carmen Alcantara Ligarda, for you. Thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
So there you have it, guys. So when you make an application for your British passport, either your first one or you became a dual national suddenly, you have to make sure you have the right documents. So we have here either, in order to have your passport, British passport, approved, you've got to show you have your naturalization certificate, the passport used to enter the UK, any current or expired passport. On top of that, of course, the change of name, marriage or civil partnership certificates, deed poll, change of name deed, and statutory declaration and affidavit. If you have actually got, like Pai, like Carmen, who has a very complicated case, perhaps it's best to have an affidavit setting out your situation. So that's it for me here in Immigration 101. Back to you, Rose.
Thank you, Crystal. Magbabalik po ang One You Connect.
Para sa Juan You Connect, ako si Jean Alcantara.
I'm Crystal Dias for One You Connect.
You're still watching One You Connect. I'm Rose Eclarinal at kasama ko pa rin po, Jean Alcantara and Crystal Dias. So Jean and Crystal, masyadong punong-puno at siksik yung hapon natin. First, we had Louie Horne, dahil nga dito sa ethnicity recognition na talaga namang kinampanya ng ating mga Filipino nurses. At nagkaroon tayo ng pagkakataong makausap ang mga kababayan natin sa Poland and in Moscow, o di ba? Magkaibang bansa. Yun dapat, Gina, guest natin mula sa Kiev ay syempre hindi natin sila, gipit na gipit sila sa oras because of course ay naghahanda sila at mayroong palaging pangamba. Pero fina-follow natin sa Facebook yung mga accounts ng kababayan natin so that we can deliver the news about our kababayans in Ukraine.
But I think napakahalaga, Rose, ng ginagawa natin, no? At saka, ginagawa niyo sa the channel sa ABS-CBN. Kasi people want to know what's going on. And who's doing this? Nobody else. Kaya importante dahil nai-inform natin, nare-reassure natin ang ating mga kababayan, hindi lang dito sa Europa, kundi sa Pilipinas. Di ba?
Oo. Oh, and the important point na nakuha ko kay Neil kanina, yung tungkol dun sa pagpapadala. Kasi syempre OFW yung mga kababayan natin sa Moscow, no? Because of the economic sanctions na pinaulanan din. Nagpaulan ng missile sa Ukraine, nagpaulan din ng economic sanctions ang mga bansa sa pangunguna nga ng UK sa Russia. So syempre apektado talaga yung mga kababayan nating Pinoy. And then Jean, alam nyo naman na pinupush ni Prime Minister Boris Johnson na tanggalin ang Russia doon sa SWIFT bank system para as a punishment. So kung mangyayari yan at kinakampanya yan sa G7 leaders, di malaking epekto na naman ito sa mga kababayan natin na nandiyan sa rehiyon na yan. No?
Oo, lalo na kasi sa ngayon apektado na ngayon remittances. 'Di ba? Pag tinanggal yung SWIFT, yan ang mechanism ng pagbabayad sa lahat ng ino-order ng Russia. For example, so mag-import sila, yan ang pambayad. O kung anumang transaksyon. Kaya actually napakabigat din ng sanctions na ini-impose ng West. Kaya yung alam mo yung sabi ng ilang experts, kung tatagal ang giyera ng 10 araw, baka mabangkarote ang Russia. So mapipilitan silang tumigil o talaga makakaroon sila ng problema economically.
Kasi dun sa announcement ni Prime Minister Boris in a couple of days ago, sinasabi niya lahat, freezing of all the banks, Russian banks, kasama na din dyan yung lahat ng assets ng mga oligarchs na nandito, na may mga negosyo, may mga properties dito sa United Kingdom. At alam naman natin, ang UK ay paboritong bansa ng mga Russians because dito nila pinag-aaral yung mga anak nila, nandito yung kanilang mga negosyo, nandito yung fondness nila ng ating football.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny you say that in terms of immigration, Rose and Jean, they've actually stopped tier 1 investor. And guess who's the most applicants?
Russians.
Kasi mura lang ang pag may 1 million ka o 5 million or 10 million, pwede ka na makakuha ng visa for you and your family to become residents.
And it's nothing to them. That money is a drop in the ocean. So
Barya lang sa kanila yun.
Barya lang. Pag pinag-usapan natin yung mga oligarchs na naninirahan dito sa UK, kasi naka-interview tayo mga kababayan natin na nagtatrabaho sa mga Russian oligarchs, no? Jean, it's a different world. Grabe, ibang-iba yung buhay nila, ibang-iba yung lifestyle nila. Yung money is not an object. You know? So gusto ko ring banggitin yung very important achievement ng mga kababayan nating Filipino nurses. Ito nga nabanggit ni Louie kanina, no, na talagang ikinampanya, pinagsikapan ng Filipino Nurses Association members, officers at saka ng PNA UK para dito sa ethnicity recognition na ito. And I'm quite happy kasi kakaiba, syempre iba naman talaga ang maidudulot nito sa ating mga kababayang nurses in the UK. It's a form of recognition that we have arrived.
It's rolled out everywhere. You know, whenever I'm actually applying for like my kids' school forms and everything, or whatever it is, they ask, for the survey your ethnicity, and of course Filipino is not there. It's either other Asians or whatever. So I hope nga that this is accurate.
I think Crystal, Rose, ang susunod na step ng mga seniors na yan o siguro ng buong community, no, is to get this done globally. Kasi nagsimula na tayo sa UK. That's a major achievement. Congratulations talaga sa FMA.
Pero Jean, sabi ni Louie is sa England pa lang to. So ang next campaign nila is to bring it on to Wales and Scotland. So dapat maging UK-wide siya para for the nurses there mangyari din ito, yung
it's not throughout UK yet. It's just England.
Yes, right. but that's my point. America walang ganyan. So, 'di ba? They should be campaigning like this also dahil we're everywhere. Mas malaki nga sila doon.
Wala pang ganyan sa Amerika? Wala
I
pa rin.
don't think
Okay.
so. Nowhere
Mm-mm.
else.
Mm-mm.
Oo.
That's really
So,
good. So this is
oo.
magandang nakausap natin si Louie on this kasi
Oo,
napakagandang
galing.
development nito
Yes.
para sa ating mga kababayan, ano? Very good.
Yeah.
Anyways, kumusta kayong dalawa? Alam ko busy tayo because may election sa Pilipinas. Jean, may announcement ka, hindi ka namin makakasama for a couple of months para sa
Yes.
at magbabalik ka sa June?
Yeah, so gusto ko lang medyo may I go out po muna kasi nalalapit na ang election sa atin. Dito sa overseas, ang election ay from April 10 to May 9. Kaya yung isang buong buwan na yon, i-cover naman po natin ang election. Normally po dito sa Juan Connect, siyempre non-political po tayo dito. Sa pagko-cover po natin, hindi natin kung malaman kung sino, baka may mga tamaan dyan. So, para po walang issue, leave po muna ako sa Juan Connect and I'll rejoin you in June pag may bago na tayong Pangulo.
Alam ko
So you'll be missed.
We will be all very busy. It's gonna fly by so quickly dahil sa marami tayong gagawin, Jean. Anyways, maraming salamat sa inyong dalawa. Bago tayo mag-close, I would have to greet some people here na nandito, no? Una, batiin
Okay, can I just mention, I don't know if we've talked about this, Rose. Can we just congratulate Rose for winning the presidential award?
Yes, of course. Congratulations, Rose. And
She's being shy about it, but
teka
no.
muna, nabati na ba natin si Rose sa kanyang bagong role?
Nabati na. Nahiya na
nabati
ako.
na.
No, nabati na ako ni Jean. So thank you very much on that for my new role sa TFC. Yung presidential awards naman, you know, I'm so grateful at I share this with my One You Connect family because the endorsement of the Philippine Embassy, it was I think initiated by some of the diplomats because of our work during the pandemic. And I wouldn't say naman na the recognition was just because of my work for One You Connect. Dahil hindi ko naman magagawa yung trabaho ko sa One You Connect if I have not been trained as a journalist for decades because of ABS-CBN and the Filipino channel ko. Whatever skills I have as a journalist, as a storyteller, nakuha ko naman lahat yan dahil naman sa pagtatrabaho ko ng dekada sa ABS-CBN. So maraming salamat sa One You Connect for this platform and of course to my kapamilya sa ABS-CBN, the Filipino channel, lalo na yung mga mentors ko back in Manila.
At saka wag naman natin kalimutan, Rose, na hindi pa natin nakukuha yung ating third award for One You Connect. Sino ba uuwi?
Yes, mga kababayan, maraming salamat po sa suporta ninyo. Talagang nag-uumapaw yung gratefulness, happiness because yung One You Connect po kontra Corona documentary, yung pinalabas natin sa SOAS at napanood sa DZMM Teleradyo at sa cable channel ng ABS-CBN, nanalo rin po siya sa Migration Advocacy and Media Awards Best Documentary. Nakakataba talaga ng puso. At ang awarding, March 16. Pero sa Pilipinas nga lang po. Kaya hindi pa natin alam, baka si Jean ay mayroong extrang budget at makalipad siya sa Pilipinas.
Medyo ayoko muna kasi wala pa election eh.
Okay. Ako naman, binabalanse pa yung schedule, Jean. Gustong-gusto ko sana, kaya lang hindi pwede. Alam mo naman, maliit pa yung anak ko. Kaya kapag umalis ako, kailangan talaga synchronized yung schedule namin ng asawa ko. So we'll see. Ay, si Tita Adelina Dueñas, congratulations on all your achievements. Tita Adel, maraming salamat. We share it with you for all your help and support. Ikaw ay inspirasyon namin at sa lahat po ng tulong ninyo. Sunny Fernandez, congrats Rose. Salamat Sunny, thank you. Yung mga binabati ko kanina, take note yung mga babatiin nyo rin. Nelly Seran Fami, thank you for watching. Yung mga nanonood dito kanina, maraming salamat po sa pakikinig, pagsusubaybay ng One You Connect. Si Tita Erlinda Montelibano ay nanonood sa atin. Thank you, Tita Erlinda, for watching. Dan Revelo, nakita ko kanina. Thank you for watching. Pascal Hickey, ang ating kaibigan mula sa Kent.
Pascal and Carmen Hickey from Kent.
Yes.
Oo, at
Big
saka
fan.
si Cecilia Conde Salvani sa Rome yan. Ay, hindi, sa Florence. Sorry, Florence.
Ay, si
So,
kaibigan mo, Jean?
Oo, kaibigan natin. Si Darmin sa Belgium,
Oo.
regular supporter natin.
Oh, thank you.
Can I just announce something? Obviously, this is on behalf of the Philippine Women's Association. We are actually having this virtual celebration of the International Women's Day, Tuesday, 8th of March, 5 o'clock. It's on YouTube and Facebook. Please check out visit the FWA UK Facebook account po yung page namin, so you can see the details. We have brilliant guest speakers, and we have special messages from leaders from different parts of the world. So please do follow us. Thank you.
Okay. And Jean and Crystal, batiin ko din yung mga nanalo tatanggap ng award mula sa presidente for this presidential awards. Marami ngayon from the UK. 8 of us will be receiving, my organizations at saka individuals. So abangan po ninyo sa One You Connect, because we had a courtesy call. Kasama po natin syempre ang mga awardees na humarap kami kay Philippine Ambassador to the UK, Antonio Lagdameo. We will share the story here on One You Connect. Konting technical problem lang, kinover siya ni Kiara, but you will see it in a couple of days. Hopefully maayos na namin yon. Thank you so much.
Okay, great.
Okay, so Louie Horne, maraming salamat sa iyo. Congratulations sa bago mong post at sa lahat po ng nanood ng One You Connect mula dito sa UK at sa buong Europa. Maraming salamat po. Ako po si Rose Eclarinal. Ito po ang Kwentong Pinoy, Kwentong Migrante, Kwentong One You Connect.
At ako naman po si Jean Alcantara. Nagpapasalamat din kay Pai Ligarda at sa ating mga sa dalawa nating guest mula sa Moscow, si Neil Cabornaitiero at si Joy Salve mula naman sa Poznan, sa Poland.
And I'm Crystal Dias. Thank you once again for joining One You Connect.
Huwag po ninyong kalilimutan, One Home, we have a new episode, one day, back-to-back na story ni Kiara. Very interesting, very exciting. Hanggang sa susunod po natin na live streaming. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon po.
Hanggang sa muli.
Sa One You Connect.
One, saan ka man dalhin ang kapalaran, iisang bayan lang sa puso mo'y laman, pinagmulan at babalikan. Konting tiis na lang at hanggang sa araw na yan ay